Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impression on Enigmatic Princess of Zahard and Irregular Urek Mazino. I already created a post on my TLDR on my first impression on both units, so if you read that, you should have a rough idea on what we're going to talk about in this video, but still making a more in-depth video about this topic I think still makes sense. So yeah, here we are, we're going to start with Princess of Zahard. I think this unit is insanely valuable. I wouldn't really ignore her or consider her an irrelevant unit because I saw some people that maybe downplayed her a little bit, and I get it because she's not really a in. I don't know how to exactly say that, but like she's not insane on her own. She needs help, but those conditions could vary. She's not like tied to Albedo Revolution 5 necessarily, even though she's arguably probably her best support due to how quickly she can stack her passive thanks to Albedo, but she doesn't necessarily need her. What she needs is whatever means you can find to keep her alive in the initial stages of the fight. As soon as she hits 10 stacks on the passive, she's going to become a monster. But until then, it's going to be extremely hard to keep her alive. She's barely doing any damage, stuff like that. So she might feel underwhelming if you cannot reliably keep her alive until that point. But once she's there, insane damage, great survivability, she's almost unkillable. So I really enjoyed using her. I think there are some conditions that you might have to fulfill. Maybe we're going to discuss them in a second. Maybe I will quickly mention ignition weapons or revolution upgrades. And in that case, we're going to mention those. But I will say really, really great unit. She's super cheap because with around 400 black market tickets, you can get her to Ring of 5 quite reliably. So definitely cheaper than all the other banners that we had in the past, other than the anniversary banners. This is the exact style of the anniversary banners. Why she was picked for this kind of banner, I have no idea. But it is what it is. So we have her for a very discounted price. She's the best bossing unit so far, I would say, even better than Augustus, that already became kind of one of the best bossing units that we had. She's even better than him, so that's great. She works fine against all bosses, it seems, but she will definitely shine even more in the Alliance Expedition. But yeah, that being said, she's not only a bossing unit from my point of view, because in Adventure, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, she has insane value anyway. Like, as soon as you keep her alive for the initial stage of the fight, then she will carry. Really great damage. And we have to keep in mind she's going to counter two very annoying units. She's going to counter Revolution Bomb, that in a lot of scenarios will be one of the trickiest enemies you're going to face, and she's going to counter Shia as well. It's not like she counters her directly. Well, yes, there is the Exusakima that does counter her, but also the burst damage that she has, she basically one taps Shia. The deficits she can push are really high. It's not like a unit that will fall off super quickly. No. This unit can deal damage, I'm sure 500 or 600, because I saw people using her there and she had no issues dealing damage. So that's insane. But yeah, for sure, even higher deficits. Now, with the amount of link stuff or like link worth materials that we got, deficits are not a thing that we're going to get at like super quickly. Maybe some people still, yes, but it's still a thing, obviously, and it will always be a thing because we will be capped in link levels, but the enemies will not. So at a certain point, we will hit deficits. So we will have to see what they have in store for attack scaling units so that they don't like feel worthless. So I don't have anything else to add to this unit. Just I think she is really good value. Whether you should be pulling for her or not will heavily depend on how many family heads you already have maxed out. If you need to max out both Gustang and the new family head, It could be problematic because Gusting is going to come out on Monday, so the 26th of May. And at that point, you want around 1,400 tickets to pull for him, just to hopefully get him to Rainbow 5. And then you have around 2 months to push and get the other 1,400 for the new family head that's going to come for like middle of July and should last for like 3 weeks if it's like the previous ones. So yeah, you will have quite a bit of time to push, but at the same time, 1,400 tickets is an insane amount to save up. So if you are already at a good point, you already have Gusta maxed out, and you're around, I don't know, 400, 500, 600 black market, you could invest on her, go to zero, and then in 2 months, push enough to get your 1,400 tickets. But this is only possible if you are at, let's say, lower floors. So maybe you were at 50, 60 before this update, and then you can get to probably 100, 120 pretty easily, maybe even 130 without too many problems. And you also are in the, let's say, 500 range in the origin trials because you're approaching the 600 origin trials that will give you a lot of black market tickets. We're talking about 180 per week if you can actually clear all 5 of the element trials and you do them every single day. So that's a lot of black market tickets per week, and you can definitely get in 2 months the amount that you need. So you have to take into account all of that. I think she's a unit worth summoning for, but not if it comes at the cost of maxing out Gustang and the new family head. I'm not talking about Chomray specifically because you could afford to delay maxing Chomray. He doesn't benefit too much from getting Rainbow 5. I mean, he's obviously better. All units are, but it's not like an insane change. You can easily do with Chomray 0 dupes, or if you really want to at least have a sort of almost max performance Chomray, 1 red will be enough to upgrade the passive to level 5, and then you can just chill and go for other units in the meantime. So don't focus too much on Chomray. I think if you have to pick between getting some like 4 more copies of Chomray or getting this unit maxed out, I would get this unit maxed out probably. Princess of Zahard. So yeah. Again, just a very quick first impression, but I thought it would be a good topic to discuss. Now we can have a quick look, and I will try to make it very quick, at the kit and exclusive equipment and stuff, and then we can talk about Irregular Urek. That's going to be pretty fast. So yeah, okay, for the passive, we have the stacks that are the most important part of her kit. Every time she uses a skill, special move included, she's going to gain a stack of the passive. At 10 stacks, she's going to have the max effect. It is going to be 15-second decrease to the active skill max cooldown and 800% attack increase. These stacks cannot be removed with buff removal skills, so even if you're facing Urek, Anniversary Iwa, and units like that, this 15-second cooldown reduction and this 800% attack is going to stay. And when you're at max stacks, you're going to ignore 40% of the target defense, which is pretty good. And for every buff she has, all skills attack coefficient increases by 30%, up to 900%. And we also get a further increase with tier 4, but we're going to mention that later. So really good if you get the 30 buffs, then you can have this 900. It's kind of unreasonable to have 30 buffs on her, but this is just to mean that every buff that you can give her will count to improving her damage. So that's definitely a plus. Then we have the first active skill, Possession or Rotala Red. I have no idea what that is. Fine. She's going to create a Crimson River area that lasts for 8 seconds, dealing 100% of attack as damage every second. The multiplier is low because we have this one to take into account. And what else? Simultaneously, she's going to gather in the needle like powering the needle and release a sword blast, dealing 400% of attack's damage to all enemies in its path. Again, low multiplier because of the passive. And then we have that when possession ends, she's going to get a 27% physical pierce increase for 15 seconds, max 5 stacks. This is a total of 135% physical pierce. It can be removed, but it's not too big of a deal, even if you don't really get that. She's still one shots, kind of. So this is going to be a lot more important, and this one is unremovable. If they remove this one, fine. It's a bit annoying, but not too much. Then we have the second active skill. She's going to charge toward the enemy, dealing damage and immobilizing them for 2 seconds. And after that, she's going to deal damage 4 times, so 300% 4 times. That's already a good base. But then we have the attack coefficient increase that is going to, again, apply to every single hit, and that's going to be massive. Then we have that when this possession ends, she's going to increase swiftness by 20 for 15 seconds, max 5 stacks. So this is a 100 swiftness increase. This is definitely good. It is definitely a good buff to have. And yeah, you don't want this one to be removed, but it's not the end of the world, even if it does. And then we have the special move. For this one, she's going to become invincible, jump towards the enemy, stabbing them with needle and dealing 200% of attack's damage. Again, low multiplier, but with the passive. Launching them airborne for 4 seconds. For some reason, they swapped these two values and they haven't corrected it, but in the game it is correct. So it's a 4-second airborne, and then reducing physical resistance by 60% for 10 seconds. And after that, Massive Frost Crystals continuously jabbing the target, dealing 400% attack as damage 5 times. Already good base, and then we have to add the skill attack coefficient increase from the passive. So really good. And then we have a useless effect, a 15% damage dealt increase to blue element enemies by 15%, max 5 stacks. Whatever, it is what it is. I don't really think this one was good. If it was a debuff on the enemy up to 5 stacks, that would have been better. Like, I don't know, green element resistance decrease, that would have been insane, but it isn't. So we will have to make do with this. Fine, but not insane. Then we have Revolution. For Revolution 4, we have one of the most important effects, probably. This will make her late game insane. Well, not late the game, I mean later stages of the fight insane. Because once she has all the stacks, she's going to spam active skill like crazy. And this evasion of all enemy attacks will be up all the time. So yeah, every time she uses a skill, she's going to have 2-second window where she cannot be hit, basically. So that's insane. Considering she will just be spamming skills once she has 10 stacks, then that's insanity. And also based on the number of buffs, as I was mentioning before, the attack coefficient increases by an additional 20% and the max cap is increased by 600%. So it could be up to 1500% attack coefficient if you have 30 buffs on you, which is probably never going to happen, but you could get very high number of buffs. And then we have the tier 5, that is an improvement to the special move. So after you use the special move for 15 seconds, you will have a frost spear that is going to fall on enemies that are hit by her skills, dealing a very low number of damage, like 150% attack is nothing. But again, you can apply the stacking from the passive, so that's really good. And well, we don't care about tier 6. We can also have a quick look at exclusive equipment. We have the level 1 that is really important to countering Shia and also some other annoying enemies. Every time the enemies are hit by her skill, she's going to pause their active skill cooldown for 2 seconds. So let's say they had 8-second cooldown on an active skill, you hit them, and for 2 seconds, those 8 seconds are going to stay 8 seconds. So after 2 seconds, instead of being 6-second cooldown remaining, is still 8. And this is insane because she's going to spam active skill all the time. The target you are hitting will never basically cast active skill. And that's important for Shia because she has that stupid link that restores 1200% attack per second. And she's basically unkillable with that one. and this helps a ton. So really, really good. Then we have level 2 is kind of worthless. When you use a skill, when you have max stack of the passive, she's going to recover 5% HP. Doesn't matter at all. We have level 3, really good. It's a 30% crit rate increase that warriors definitely appreciate, and 25% accuracy. Not too important right now because of how low evasion is on enemies, but it's definitely appreciated, especially for hard mode. And this can also not be removed, so it's a very reliable one. You have to wait for max stacks, but still pretty decent. And then we have level 4, that is another additional effect when you have max stacks on the passive. She's going to be immune to status effects. So yeah, really good, really good. And that's all for the princess. In terms of ignition weapons, I would say Barry is probably the safest choice, just to avoid random one-shots in the early phase of the game before she has the 10 stacks. And in terms of alternatives, you could easily go for Alucard, it's not that bad. You could also go for Rafflesia, but again, not really too important. You can use other options, but I think Barry is the one that has the best quality of life, and you don't lose out on any damage. Like 30% physical pierce from Alucard is nothing. So I'd rather have that sort of panic button kind of ignition weapon that will prevent some one shots than Alucard that will give me 30% physical pierce. That can also be removed by buff removal, so I don't really like it too much. And then you have to keep stacking it, whatever. So those are the alternatives. In terms of main stats, you want to go with crit damage slot 4 to further boost her damage. You could go also effect resistance, but she has effect resistance in Revolution substats. So I'd recommend you guys to pick that instead of slot 4 effect resistance. And you have to keep in mind she will be immune to status effects once she has all the stacks. So this effect resistance is mostly for the beginning of the fight. So crit damage slot 4, and for slot 5, you can either go crit rate increase or physical pierce increase. The main difference is nothing, really. I mean, it depends which one you have with a better stat. Your goal is to get at the very least 70% crit rate increase, and then as much pierce as you can and crit damage as you can. That's all you kind of care about. You also want a little bit of effect hit so that you are higher than the enemy effect resistance, but it doesn't matter too much. You could also go effect hit in slot 4 if you really want to, but it's probably not necessary. And yeah, that's all I can say for now for ignition weapons. If you have tried different builds and you think they're good, feel free to share them down below in the comments. But yeah, that's just it for the first impression. I already talked a bit too much probably. So now we can quickly go over Irregular Urek Mazino. It's going to be super quick. Because this guy is basically the same as Flight Urek Mazino, as all XSR Plus are. They have the same exclusive equipment, the same base kit, maybe some different multipliers, but that doesn't really change much. And they have different revolution. Now, for this guy, revolution upgrade was okay. It's not like Zahard that was pretty much kind of worthless. But with this guy, he's actually decent, but not enough, I think, to make him a worthwhile pick. Because his damage is still non-existent, but that was expected. His durability is fine, I think up to 400 deficit. If you go for resistance, if you invest in HP subnode, if you invest in defense subnode, then should be fine. But it will die if you go past that deficit, or like 450, 500, it will die. So he's not reliable as a tank. The Revolution 5 that will grant him invincibility, I hoped it was going to be a bit better, but it kinda works, but it's not reliable. It will not make him stay alive the whole fight. So not good enough. The energy decrease is nice, but that requires him to stay alive. So for 350 and below deficit is perfectly fine. I think it's a decent tank option with good utility, buff removals, weakness decrease, and these energy decrease. So that's nice. Higher than that, it will start falling off pretty hard. So I don't think he's a unit that would be recommended that much. He's better than the Flight Urek Mazino, so the XSR Plus version, but not by that much, and not justifiable to me to invest all the purple tickets that you need. If you're going for the princess anyway, you might do the refreshes on the Tata Tower and get a lot of copies of him and probably even maxing him. But that's just what you could do. I don't think I would spend like I did for my account, like I think 700, 800 normal tickets for this guy. I think that's too much. That's too expensive. It's better probably to wait for when they're going to release a good XSR Plus like Evan, Edan, Irang. August is too recent, so for sure not. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of other options that could be interesting because they have a good base kit to begin with. And even if they mess up the revolution, they would still be fine. So hopefully when they are going to release those units, then that is when you want to go all in on an XSR Plus. For now, this one feels really an easy skip. We're going to skip the kit because it's exactly the same. We're going to read just the revolution. So for the tier 4, we're going to get an 80% HP increase for every blue elemental eye. That cannot be removed by buff removal skills. So this is pretty decent. This is up to 400% HP increase. And this incentivizes to use him in a mono blue team, and it does work well in a mono blue team. Every time he uses a skill, he's going to create a barrier for all allies equal to 30% of his max HP. That which with this buff is pretty substantial. So it's not a bad shield, but if all of your units don't have resistances, that shield will be made of paper anyway. They will be one tapped anyway once you are at a deficit, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And yeah, it's okay. You definitely want to stack that defense increase in the substats, as I was mentioning before. That will further boost his durability by quite a bit. But yeah, overall, tier 4, decent, but nothing too insane. What was more interesting was the tier 5. 1 second invincibility every time it teleports to the enemy with the celerity effect, and that triggers when the enemy attacks you. When he attacks you, he's going to teleport to the attacker. He will have the animation. The animation is not going to register any hits, but if he has the invincibility up and they hit you, he's still going to start the teleport. So that's a good thing. It could potentially have 100% uptime, but is also at the same time kind of unrealistic. So it's basically never going to happen. You need him to stay alive even without the invincibility. This should just be an additional tool for him to stay alive, but not the main reliance. And that's unfortunate. But then important, the teleport attacks become ranged. That's what he said. I think it was more like AoE or something like that. But the important thing is that he's going to reduce the energy of enemies hit by 100. That was pretty substantial, I would say. In some scenarios, I actually saw the energy go down quite a lot, and the enemies struggling to cast the active skill. The special moves. They would still cast them because enemies in adventure get so much energy for some reason. So they would still cast them, but it would delay them enough. I think it's decent. I think this effect is good. But that's all. I tried running Mago as well, but his durability just plummeted a bit. I think Barry was more beneficial. But you could potentially run Mago, but he's a bit troll if you ask me. And that's all. That's all for Urek as well. And that's all for this video. I will cover some more information on new player stuff in an upcoming video, and also share with you my free-to-play account progression, go in more detail about the new things that were introduced, the changes to the special guide mission, and other things in the upcoming videos. Again, if you have any requests that you would like to see covered with priority, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye!